We are down here in Racine at the Root River Steelhead facility where we will be spawning rainbow trout.
Wow.
Rainbow trout are not native to Lake Michigan. We sustain them in Wisconsin through stocking. Part of it is water temperatures. Our rivers get pretty warm, so the eggs don't incubate. And there's also a high sediment load in our rivers as well. So the eggs sometimes will be suffocated and they don't survive. They run upriver to spawn in the spring. We have a dam in the river that we place seasonally to stop their upstream migration so that the fish come in through this fish ladder into our spawning facility.
Male left vent adipose 468.
Then once the crew gets started, we will collect length and weight data and take them to the spawning crew where they'll collect the eggs, fertilize the eggs, and eventually, end of the day today, they'll go back to the hatchery. And then we send them down this tube to go back to the river.
We got the fish divided. We got Chambers Creek females and Ganaraska females, and then Ganaraska boys and Chambers boys. So we want to keep the strains specific. We don't want to mix the strains. So we'll grab a Chambers girl here. I'm going to squeeze a few eggs in this cup for Brandon to look at and take OV fluids. So we take the fish, make sure we don't hook the gill, put them up on this hook here, and we inject some air into the body cavity to expel the eggs. We're going to give it a squeeze, remove any extra air out of it. And then once the fish is done being spawned, we can put it in the recovery tank. And then we pass the eggs on down the line, so they'll come into a bucket. And we'll grab a male, give it a squeeze, get some milk in there to fertilize the eggs. And then we send the eggs down over here where we'll add a cup of water. And this will activate the milt and the sperm. And then it'll open up so the eggs can be fertilized. We'll let it sit for 2 minutes to let fertilization take place. And then after that, we'll rinse the eggs and put them in buckets, take back to the hatchery. Steelheads, they spawn in late March to middle of April. And we basically have our one time a year to get our eggs. So we got to get all our eggs we can when they're here. And then we take them back and raise them for a full year. When we take the eggs back, we'll get about 70 to 75% eye up. So good eggs will have about 25% bad that die through the fertilization process. But then after that, majority of the fish are good then, and the eggs will be good, and we'll be able to raise those into yearlings. We stock them back in the river at 1 year old. We do 26 total rivers throughout the state, all tributaries to Lake Michigan. So once we stock them, they'll hang out in the river for a little bit, then they'll swim out to the lake. They'll hang out for a couple of years, and usually at about 3 years old, they start coming back to the rivers for their spawning runs.
Rainbow trout will spawn multiple times in their lifetime. So sometimes we see them at our spawning weirs as early as age 2, but more typically it's age 3 and 4. There's a multi-million-dollar recreational fishery for these fish in Lake Michigan, and so part of this process is just to sustain the fishery year after year,